You think this is funny?
In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Well, Mr. Funny Man, is this how you get your sick kicks?
What? It's just an ordinary crabby... Oh my goodness! Squidward!
High in the limestone hills, where the wind whispered through cracks in the earth, there lived a 9-year-old cave girl named Bryn. Bryn had wild red hair that never stayed tied, no matter how many vines she used. It sprang around her head like fire, bright against the gray stone walls of her home. But what everyone noticed first, before her hair, before her grin, were her feet. They were the biggest in the valley. At 9 years old, Bryn's footprints were longer than some grown hunters. Other cave children teased her, calling her Thundersteps, because when she ran, the ground seemed to shake. But Bryn didn't mind much. Big feet meant she could climb faster, jump farther, and never slip on the damp cave floors. What made Bryn truly different, though, wasn't her feet. It was her magic. No one in the valley quite understood it. Magic hadn't been seen in generations, not since the old stories told around smoky fires. But Bryn had it quietly at first. Stones warmed in her hands. Tiny sparks danced when she laughed. And when she got angry, well, even the wind seemed to listen. Bryn didn't dress like the others either. While most wore rough animal hides, Bryn had found strange treasures in a collapsed tunnel deep underground, remnants of another world. From that day on, she wore a bright green shirt she'd carefully patched together, blue jeans that were far too big but tied tight with rope, and, most mysterious of all, tiny glass bottles filled with color. She painted her nails green, the same shade as moss after rain. She lined her eyes with dark streaks, making them sharp and fierce. And though no one knew what it was called, she brushed her lashes with a black stick that made them long and bold. The elders whispered she looked like a spirit from the future. But Bryn didn't care about whispers. She cared about Ruck. Ruck was her dog, a sturdy, gray-furred creature with bright, clever eyes. Around his neck was something even stranger than Bryn's clothes, a collar made of smooth metal and glowing stones. Bryn had found it in the same hidden chamber as her clothes. When she placed it on Ruck, something changed. He understood her. Not just commands, understood her thoughts. Hungry? She'd think. Ruck would bark once, race you to the ridge. He'd already be running. The collar was magic. Bryn was sure of it. One evening in the year 1910, though Bryn had no idea what that meant, a storm unlike any other rolled over the valley. Lightning cracked open the sky, and the caves trembled. The elders shouted for everyone to stay inside, but Bryn felt something pulling her. A call. Ruck, she whispered. His ears perked. We have to go. They slipped out into the storm. Rain soaked her green shirt, and mud clung to her oversized feet, but she kept running. Her footprints filled with glowing water as faint sparks flickered beneath her skin. The pole led them to the deepest cave, the one everyone feared. Inside, the air hummed. At the far end stood a wall of stone covered in strange markings, the same kind Bryn had seen in the hidden chamber. As she stepped closer, her big foot pressed against the ground, and the symbols lit up. Green. The same green as her nails. The same green as her shirt. The same green as the stones in Ruck's collar. The cave roared to life. Light burst across the walls, and for a moment, Bryn saw something impossible. Images of towering cities, glowing lights, people dressed in clothes like hers. A world far beyond her valley. A world far beyond 1910. Ruck barked, but not in fear, in recognition. The collar shimmered, and Bryn felt the magic inside her rise, bigger than ever before. Her hands glowed, her eyeliner streaked slightly in the rain, and her massive feet planted firmly on the trembling ground. I'm not just from here, she whispered. The cave answered. Neither are you. The storm faded. The lights dimmed. But nothing was the same. Bryn stood there, soaked and breathless, her red hair clinging to her face, her green nails glowing faintly in the dark. She didn't know where the magic came from. She didn't know why she had it, but she knew one thing for certain. Her big feet weren't a mistake. They were meant to carry her somewhere extraordinary. Rook nudged her hand, his glowing collar soft in the dark. Bryn smiled. "Come on," she said. And together, the cave girl and her magic dog stepped forward, toward a future that had been waiting for them all along. The lime green surprised Ethan Carter was 9 years old, and until that Thursday afternoon, he had never worn anything fancier than his hockey jersey to school. That changed when his teacher, Miss Delgado, announced the annual Womanless Beauty Pageant, a silly, once-a-year tradition where the boys in grade 4 dressed up in over-the-top costumes and performed for the whole school. Most kids laughed it off. Ethan, however, took it very seriously. "I'm going to win," he whispered to his best friend, Noah. Noah raised an eyebrow. "With what? A bedsheet dress?" Ethan just grinned. The night before the pageant, Ethan's living room turned into a full-on transformation studio. His older cousin Mia helped him pick out the most outrageous outfit they could assemble. They chose a bright lime green gown that shimmered under the light like it belonged on a red carpet. It was a little too long, so Ethan had to practice walking without tripping. Next came the long blonde wig, which kept sliding into his eyes until Mia pinned it carefully in place. "You have to own it," she said. "Confidence is everything." Ethan nodded seriously. Then came the details: green nail polish, carefully painted while he sat very still dark green high heels, which made him wobble at first bold makeup, with dramatic eyeshadow pearl earrings that clipped onto his ears, and finally, a swipe of bright pink lipstick. Ethan stared at himself in the mirror. He didn't just look different. He looked fabulous. The next day at school, the gym buzzed with excitement. Parents filled the bleachers, and students whispered and giggled as contestants lined up backstage. There were all kinds of outfits: boas, oversized dresses, goofy hats. But when Ethan stepped out from behind the curtain, the room went quiet for a split second. Then, whoa! The lime green gown shimmered under the stage light as he carefully walked forward in his heels, holding his head high just like Mia taught him. When it was time for the talent portion, Ethan surprised everyone again. Music started, and he danced. Not just any dance, a dramatic, over-the-top performance, full of spins, poses, and exaggerated runway walks. The crowd erupted with laughter and applause. Even Noah stood up cheering. "That's my guy." At the end of the show, all the contestants stood on stage, trying not to wobble or laugh too hard. The principal stepped up to the microphone, and this year's winner of the Womanless Beauty Pageant is... A pause. Ethan held his breath. Ethan Carter. The gym exploded with cheers. Ethan's jaw dropped. Then he smiled, so wide his pink lipstick almost smudged. Later, as he carefully removed his wig and shoes, Noah shook his head. "I can't believe you actually pulled that off." Ethan shrugged, grinning. "Told you," he said. "Confidence is everything." And from that day on, Ethan wasn't just the kid who wore a hockey jersey. He was the kid who owned the stage in lime green. The lime green surprise, extended story. Ethan thought winning the Womanless Beauty Pageant would be the end of it. He was wrong. The following Monday, something unexpected happened. As Ethan walked into school, still a little proud, still a little embarrassed, he noticed people staring again. But this time, it wasn't just him. At the front doors stood Liam from grade 5, wearing a sparkly blue dress over his hoodie. In the hallway, Marcus had on a polka dot skirt and was laughing with his friends. Even quiet little Ben from grade 3 had painted his nails bright orange. Ethan blinked. "What is going on?" Noah ran up to him, grinning. "Dude, you started something." It turned out the pageant had been such a hit that kids couldn't stop talking about it all weekend. Parents laughed, teachers shared photos, and students kept saying the same thing. That looked fun. By Monday morning, dozens of boys had decided, just for fun, to dress up again. By recess, it was everywhere. The school hallways became a swirl of colors. Flowing dresses in every shade imaginable, oversized shoes clocking on the floor's wigs, slipping sideways, while kids laughed, and six-some bright nail polish flashing as hands waved in excitement. No one was doing it to win anything anymore. They were doing it because it made everyone laugh, and somehow it made everyone feel a little braver. At lunch, the principal made an announcement. Well, she said, trying not to laugh, it seems like the pageant spirit isn't quite over. The cafeteria erupted in cheers. So, she continued, smiling, we decided, why not make it official? The room went completely silent. This Friday, she said, we're having a whole school dress-up celebration. Anyone who wants to participate can join. Friday came fast, and this time, it wasn't just a handful of contestants. It was everyone, every grade, every classroom, boys everywhere, each with their own wild, creative style. Some wore elegant gowns and tried their best runway walks. Others went full comedy with mismatched outfits and silly poses. A group of friends even coordinated matching neon outfits. Ethan stood in the gym again, wearing his lime green gown, but now, he didn't stand out. He belonged. When the music started, no one waited for instructions. The entire gym turned into a giant, joyful performance. Kids danced, spun, laughed, tripped, helped each other up, and kept going. Teachers joined in. Even the principal tried a dramatic pose and nearly lost her balance, making everyone burst out laughing. At one point, Ethan looked around. Hundreds of students, all different, all smiling, all completely unafraid to look a little silly. No trophies were handed out that day. No winners were announced, because somehow it didn't matter anymore. As the crowd slowly settled, Noah nudged Ethan. You know, he said, you didn't just win the pageant. Ethan raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Noah gestured at the gym full of laughter and color. You started all this. Ethan looked down at his lime green gown, then back at everyone around him. He smiled. Yeah, he said quietly. I guess I did. And from that day on, the school had a new tradition. Not about winning, not about costumes, but about having the courage to try something different and the confidence to enjoy it. The lime green surprise, final chapter. By the time the next womanless beauty pageant came around, the entire school was ready. What started as a silly one-day event had turned into the most anticipated tradition of the year. Posters filled the hallways. Students whispered about outfit ideas weeks in advance. Even teachers were making plans. Ethan, he had his lime green gown ready again. But this year, he wasn't nervous. He was excited. On the day of the pageant, the backstage area buzzed louder than ever. Kids adjusted wigs, fixed makeup, and practiced their walks. That's when Ethan noticed someone new. Near the corner stood a girl from grade 5, Jordan Hayes, known across the school for her love of sports. She was always on the soccer field, always running, always competing. Seeing her backstage made Ethan pause. Jordan wasn't laughing nervously like some of the others. She looked focused. She wore a bright red gown that flowed around her like a cape. On her head sat a bold red sun hat, tilted just enough to look dramatic. Her thick brown hair curled beneath it, framing her face. Ethan noticed the details. Carefully painted red nail polish, black high heels that she stood in like an athlete ready for a race, shiny golden earrings, catching the light bold makeup that made her eyes stand out, and a confident swipe of red lipstick. She looked powerful. Ethan walked over. Didn't expect to see you here. Jordan smirked. What? You think I only do sports? He shrugged. Kind of. Well, she said, adjusting her hat. This is just another kind of competition. Ethan grinned. Fair enough. When Jordan's turn came, the gym grew quiet. Most people expected something simple. They were wrong. The music started, fast and energetic. most contestants, but confidently, like she was stepping onto a field. She turned, spun, and then surprisingly broke into a mix of dance and athletic moves. Quick footwork, dramatic poses, even a playful spin that made her red gown flare out perfectly. The crowd erupted. Cheers echoed off the walls. Even the teachers were clapping along. Backstage, Ethan shook his head in amazement. Okay, that was incredible. Jordan just smiled. Told you. When Ethan performed, he brought his usual flair, dramatic poses, exaggerated runway walks, and that same fearless energy that had started it all. But this time it felt different. It wasn't about standing out anymore. It was about sharing the stage. At the end, everyone lined up together. Boys in every color imaginable, outfits wild and creative. And right there among them stood Jordan, red gown shining just as brightly as Ethan's lime green. The principal stepped forward again. And this year, she announced, we're doing things a little differently. The students leaned in. There isn't just one winner. Murmurs spread through the crowd. We're celebrating something bigger. Confidence, creativity, and courage. Instead of one name, she called several. Ethan Carter for inspiring a tradition. Cheers. Jordan Hayes for redefining what it means to compete. Even louder cheers. And every single one of you for making this school something special. The gym exploded with applause. No one felt left out. No one felt nervous anymore. Afterward, as everyone laughed and talked, Ethan and Jordan sat on the edge of the stage, still in their outfits. You coming back next year? Ethan asked. Jordan nodded. Obviously, he smirked. Think you can beat me? She grinned. Oh, I know I can. And as the two of them looked out at the colorful, cheering crowd, one thing was clear. The pageant wasn't just a tradition anymore. It was a celebration where anyone could step onto the stage and shine.
The Lime Green Surprise. Chapter 1. The pageant Ethan Carter was 9 years old, and until that Thursday afternoon, he had never worn anything fancier than his hockey jersey to school. That changed when his teacher announced the annual Womanless Beauty Pageant. Most kids laughed. Ethan didn't. I'm going to win, he told his friend Noah. That night, his house turned into a dressing studio. With help, he picked a bright lime green gown, a long blonde wig, green nail polish, high heels, bold makeup, pearl earrings, and pink lipstick. When he looked in the mirror, he didn't just look different. He looked confident. Chapter 2. The big night the gym buzzed with excitement. When Ethan walked on stage, the crowd gasped, then cheered. He performed dramatically, spins, poses, and runway walks. At the end, his name was called as the winner. Ethan couldn't believe it, but something even bigger had just begun. Chapter 3. The surprise the next week. Ethan walked into school and stopped. Other boys were dressed up too. Different colors, different styles, everyone laughing. By lunch, it felt like the whole school had joined in. No one was trying to win anymore. They were just having fun. Chapter 4. A new tradition the principal made it official, a school-wide dress-up celebration. When Friday came, the gym exploded with color. Students danced, laughed, and helped each other. No winners were announced, because everyone belonged. Chapter 5. A new challenger at the next pageant, a new competitor appeared, Jordan Hayes. Known for sports, she surprised everyone. She wore a bold red gown, red sun hat, red nails, black heels, golden earrings, bold makeup, and red lipstick. She looked strong and confident. When she performed, she mixed dance with athletic moves. The crowd went wild. Chapter 6. More than winning, Ethan performed again, just as boldly. But now it wasn't about standing out. It was about sharing the stage. At the end, the principal announced multiple recognitions. Ethan for starting something. Jordan for redefining competition. Everyone for courage. Chapter 7. The real victory after the show. Ethan and Jordan sat together. You coming back next year? Ethan asked. Obviously, Jordan said. They both smiled. Ethan looked out at the crowd. He realized something important. This wasn't just a pageant anymore. It was a tradition, a celebration, a place where anyone could step forward and shine.